Hello there, Sniperz227 here, back with another tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to be going over loading animated meshes and objects. An animation is basically a series of translations, so when you move an object to different places, that's an animation. Yep, examples of animations in real life or in the programming field would be, I could think of in game development, we use a lot of animations for not only weapons but characters, so a character walking would be an animation, or when you see your gun reloading, the user or the player taking the clip out and putting it back in, that's also an animation. So let's get started. So in 3ds Max, you can do this in Blender too. Just Google how to make animations, but I'm gonna get a simple cube. No, I don't want to save. You're gonna hit the set key, and your window should go all red. And then you're going to basically hit this little key icon every time you want to set your animation. So we want to set our first frame at 0. And let's say we want to increment it by 5, we move that to 5, and then we move our object to the position we want it to be at that frame. Hit that key again, and we'll create another one. Move it, let's say, all the way over here. Hit key, and then move it to 15, all the way over here again, and then set key. So when I play it back, oh, I forgot to set the last frame. Okay, set key, there we go. So now when I play it back, it should do the motion that we went through, and you'll notice that even though I jumped every 5 frames, 3ds Max splits up the frames, so the object slowly progresses to it. So you can see how in between it slowly moves towards the final frame. And what we want to do now is we want to export this file to an ASCII, test.exe, whatever. Hit yes, make sure you deselect all of these because it'll be easier, and select transform animation keys and animated mesh. Use keys, have geometry and shapes, and hit OK. And once we're done that, open this up so you can see it. So the reason I like this file format is because it's easy to read, and it uses animations unlike the .object and some other file formats. Now to find the animations, if we go to make sure that I export it properly, we're going to go down here, and the animation is here, and there's our 4 frames, but I guess 3ds Max didn't want to include all the other frames. Let me try something. Yes. Animated. So yeah, that's weird, but basically we have our 4 frames over here. I'd preferred that it would export all the frames in between as well, but I guess it's not going to do that. But you can see how over here for a 3rd frame we have the X is 79, Y is -45, and Z is 0. If you go with 3rd frame, 79, -45, 0, so we have basically what the information we need over here. So the way we're going to perform this animation is, like I said at the start of the video, it's a series of translations. So we're going to get this, and we're going to translate whatever mesh. So in this case we only have one mesh, but in other cases you might have more than one mesh. So you're going to transform that. You're going to use, well, depending on what you're using, here I'm going to use GL Translate. So we're going to put these values in, and then wait a couple of seconds and put that value in and run translate it to there, and then wait a couple of seconds and translate it there, etc. Or else, because your computer is pretty fast, I've done this before, made that mistake, it's just going to go like this. It's going to start here, and as soon as you hit the animation, it's just going to go right to the end frame. So it's going to start here. What have I done? Just going to go boom, straight there. So you won't be able to see even faster than I'm doing it right now because I have bad hands, but it's just going to be like that, exactly like that. So you won't see that, or that, you'll just see this. So that's why we have to pause it, because computers are pretty fast. So we want to see each frame in between, so we're going to pause it so we could see each animation frame. So I've already created this, so I'm going to try and write it again, but I don't, let me check my channel. I'm not too sure if I did a tutorial on .ace file format loading. No, I have not. So we're going to get into that today. You guys could see my final assignment that is due in 12 hours, but I haven't started because I'd rather make a tutorial. But yeah, so we're going to create a new class called ACE loader, and we're just going to have void load ACE string dir and void render ACE int object. Not too sure for any. Yeah, we might need this int object. Include obviously fstream, which is the header file used to use input and output file stream functions, and string, because we're going to be using strings. Also might need iostream to print out some values in case we need to troubleshoot, and then using namespace std so I could use string instead of, I'm not going to explain that because most of you should know what that does. Then void ACE loader, ACE string dir and object, and void render ACE int object. So going over the specifics of the ACE file, pretty simple. Have our scene, tells you the frame speed, the last frame, because there's 100 frames in here. I wonder if you could change that. Anyways, go over that later. But this is where we really want to go. So geometry object, it gives you the name, so our box's name was box001, gives you the position it started at, the rotation, and the scale, all at 0. Not too sure about this, but I don't think it should be that important. Now the position, this is where the actual position is in here. So the first frame, I don't know why 3ds Max got all weird on me all of a sudden, but basically that's not 0, 0, 0, it's -4, whatever, gives the actual rotation axes with the x, y, z, and then the angle, and then the scale, so it's scaled to 1. And now we only need this for part of the loading, so we'll actually still have to go into it. And for our mesh, this is where all the important object or information actually is. So you can see, since we have a cube, it's gonna have 8 vertices, and 12 faces. The vertex or vertices located here. So you can see the first vertice starts at 13 on the x, -7 on the y, and 0 on the z, and so on and so forth. So it goes x, y, z, x, y, z, just like the object file we saw. Not that hard, and this is where it kind of gets sort of confusing. I don't know why they do this, but shows mesh face, and then 0, so the vertex number, and then A. So if you guys haven't watched my object loading tutorial, I highly suggest you watch it. I should have recommended that at the start, but if you're not experienced with loading file formats, this might be confusing, but basically the indices are located here, so 0, 2, 3, and I think I'll try and pull out an object file just to compare, so you can see 0 or 1, 2, 3, which would be 0, 1, 2. Basically this data is located here after the letters, so A, B, C, and then this data is located over here. These are only for edges, I think, because it says A, B, B, C, C, A, and it goes all the way down to 12 because we have 12 faces because I didn't triangulate it. And yep, so that's all we're going to need. So we're going to need that info to actually load the object, and then this is going to be the animation portion of it. I don't know, my computer's haunted because it keeps opening up applications I don't want it to, but alright, so let's start. So what I like to do is I like to put the file on a second monitor so I can see the values as I type it out. So let's get started. So we're going to do if stream because we're loading, we're getting input, not outputting information. ACE string line, and we're going to go ace.open and dir because whatever directory they put, it'll load, and then iOS in because again we're inputting, and then obviously we're going to close it. Now we're going to make a while loop saying if it isn't the end of file, which is EOF, so if the ACE file isn't at the very end, what do you want? Users. Oh, there's supposed to be 2. Yep, so if it isn't the end of the file, perform the operations in here, so till it reaches the end of the file, is going to perform the operations in the while loop, and we're going to user if line.find, and then the line. So I'm just going to, first we're going to have to go to gem object, and post that isn't equal to line.end position, so basically this is saying that stops the loop when it finds this line. or actually, first of all, to find that line, I forgot this. D's get line, so get line, ACE, and line. So it's going to read the text file one by one and store it into line. So line's going to have the text, and it's going to stop when line has found this portion of the text. And we're just going to do nothing. Actually, get line. Going to keep going. Get line. And then we're going to load the name. So scanf s line.cstr. So just convert our line, our string, into basically a string that can be recognized in the C language, because this is a function from AC library. Then we're going to and string. Sorry, one sec. Let me just get some water. My throat's getting really dry. I'm just back. So we'll put NS and open this up. Now that you think of it, actually, just to speed this tutorial up, I'm going to basically, I'm not going to perform the proper way to load it, meaning that you should load this and this information. But since we only have one object and I don't want to make this tutorial longer than it already is, I'm going to just load, I'm going to treat it as if the user is going to load only one object every single time. So we only need these three and then all this. So we're going to start with TM position. So this, I'm going to take that out, and then we're going to paste this, and replace those values with a percentage sign and a F for float. Percentage sign, and going to use your object system. So my object structure, I'm just going to look at what the name actually is. Yep, it is com. So I think I introduced my object structure in the object file, so object file tutorial, so it'd be useful to. Oh, that's why. Also have to include this because it contains the structure, obviously, so that's why we're getting an error for that. com.object.triangle. This is a position, so I'd find translate, I think. Yep. 0. And I'm just going to paste that 3 times. Change that to 2 and 1. So it's basically going to store the position in that value, and then I'm going to go on from here, go to this, so there's TM position, TM rotation, axes. Delete that portion. delete all that, and again, just add that. I'm just gonna change this to my rotation one, so the next one is, oh, forgot the angle, so I'm gonna change this to 1 because my angle is set to the first offset, or the first value. Set that. TM point angle. Only 1. Delete that. And then I'm going to copy and paste again. When this happens. Okay. What is going on? There we go. Next we need to find this. If you see me pause a bunch of times, it's because I don't usually load files like this. I don't treat them as the user loading one file, so it makes me cringe when I do this. But basically, actually, we should be loading that. Actually, fuck it. I'll put this here, make it quicker. Double value. It's going to be dot vertex num. Do the same thing. I think it's face. Num face. Faces actually. Num faces. Face. Num. There we go. Now I'm gonna find this and make a for loop. So skip to the next line because we don't need any info from this. So right now it's going to be over there, so we're going to make a for loop at this point. For int I equals 0 if I is greater than the vertex number, so we stored that in here. Object triangle vertex num. Oops, I plus plus. There we go. Going to use the scanf function to get the 3 values. So we have another issue that will come up that you need to keep in mind. These numbers change every time, so we need another variable to assign this, a dummy variable basically, because if we put this and then just put and F and F and F, it's going to look for the 0 each time, and there's no 0 in these ones, so it won't load it. So, and D, X, Y, Z. So we're going to load 3 vertices over here, and then I'm going to see if I have a dummy variable in my object system. Object was triangle. So we don't, but we'll just make one. GL double dummy. Actually, I'll check one more thing too. Yep, so basically what I was checking is if I need a get line in between these, because sometimes it stops and it doesn't run, but since I have the get line here, it's going to keep going. Oh shit. Don't know why. What the fuck is happening? There we go. Never mind. I don't care. Okay, so XYZ, so we're going to scanf. Then we're going to add those to our vector that we created called vertices. I'm going to push back object 0, 1, and 2. Push back this. Copy that line. Paste it 3 times. And then we're going to do get line, so it's at the end when it gets the information for that line. It's, forgot to add the dummy variable. Sorry. Object dot triangle dot dummy. But yeah, basically we want to skip to the next line, so it's going to load all this. That's going to skip to this, load all this, keep skipping until we get to 8. So get line ACE line, and that's it for that. I can do the same thing for the faces. Oh god, this is a long tutorial. So I'm just going to copy and paste this portion. Mesh face, and oh no, never mind. We have another problem here. That thing I had to use another dummy variable. I guess not. Okay, I was just looking at, because I thought this would interfere, but apparently I could just load this portion of the line, which is what we're going to do. So again, our dummy variable comes handy here, and dummy, and then A, another double value, another double, and another one. Except X, Y, Z, it's going to be points. Instead of vertices, it's going to be faces. And then instead of vertex num, it's going to be face num. And then we're going to load our animations. Find is equal to lambda in position. Wrong one. The spacing matters, apparently. So put that in. Going to go. So we're just going to skip over 2 lines. Do for int I equals 0. I is greater than 2. I plus plus. Actually, fuck it. I could just do this. I could just type it twice. Save me time. So it's going to be here, it's going to go 1, 2, and actually it should be 3. Get that ready. Here again we need dummy variable, so it comes in handy. Close that. I think that should work. Controlled sample. And instead of X, Y, Z, I think I have an animation object triangle animation. I don't think I'm set up. Actually, I'll just look in this one to find out what the name is. Oh, it's a separate one. Animation. I don't think I made one. RMD animation. Oh, it is. It's frame. Okay. Object dot frame. Does it tell us how many frames we have? No, it doesn't. Okay. Frame. Wait, what the hell? Has to tell us how many frames we have. Or I just made a frame. Okay. So int frame equals 0. So frame and then frame dot XYZ 0. Just gonna put that. Notice how in my structure there was also a rotation triangle or a translation, because although it's an animation, you could also rotate the animation and distort that within the animation, but clearly our object doesn't have that. So I'm going to put those three, and then I'm going to do frame equals frame plus 1, so increments every time. And I just want to make sure that that's going to work. Animation if frame equals true. And actually that's it for now. So we've successfully loaded the animations and the frame, and I'll cut this tutorial right now and continue it on in part 2.